Floats also work similar to integer, like 0.0 is considered as true, sorry, as false. Any other non-zero value is for true. Strings, an empty string is considered as false. Okay, even if you write false in the string, it would be considered as true. You can see E is true. Only null strings would be considered as false. Rest all is true. List, you would get to know about list in some time. So basically a list which you have used, if anyone knows any worked in any other language, they're similar to arrays, just to store uh, like a set of different data types. So an empty list would be false, rest of them would be true. Okay, I will just slow a little bit slow. Okay, so should I repeat like if I have gone too fast?
Yes, I couldn't hear it. Please.
Okay, okay, let me go again from conditional operators. See, um, if you have to perform any logic in a program, you have to use conditional operators for inequality, for equality. What if we change percentages to percentage t in bool part? It would print 1 and 0 for true and false if you use percentage t. So whenever you use any conditional operator, it would return the value would be boolean. So if the condition is true, it would return true, and for false it would return false. And for like you can see here 2 is less than 3, so it's returning true. Okay, 5 is greater than 3, it's returning false. Hi is not equal to hello. String equality works for each character. So it's returning false. Type, you can use for in Python you can use any type of uh, function expression with conditional operators. So I have checked that if the data type of 2 is equal to int or not. If I write here for the timing, if I write string, it would return false. D would be false now.
Excuse me. Why did we use %s? Because the data type is boolean, but %s is for string.
You can print that as a string also, true. I'm just printing, I'm not using that in any other conditional operation. See, if A is true and B, okay, logical operators are a little bit ahead. See, you can combine two or more conditional expressions. Yes, not equal to means not equal to. See, A is presently true.
Prakhar. His doubt was that why are we using %s if it is used for strings and not something else, because A is a Boolean value. So,
yes.
like the answer to this question essentially is that we want to know whether the value is true or false. So using %s converts the Boolean value to a string. That is, the value true like gets printed as true as such. So that's why we are using string. So anything can be converted to string, but not everything can be converted from string to a numeric or a Boolean value as such. But Boolean also, as he showed, that anything can be converted. So
if we
that
had
was his
used
point.
%d, then would it print 0 and 10?
As he said earlier, %d, yeah. Prakhar, you go.
Okay. See, if
Okay,
I
thank
use
you.
percentage, true would be converted to 1. For false, you can
Thank you.
also see if I run this now, false would be printed as 0. Okay, so you can see if I printed a Boolean value for integer, it has converted to 1 and 0. Similarly, Other data types can also be converted to bool. And if you see here, when I'm printing using %d, Python is itself converting the data type, and here I have explicitly mentioned to convert 2 to a boolean value.
If we had used 3 instead of 3, we have used a value from the ASCII table for C, then would it write true or false?
No, it would return false. See here, it is first first comparing the objects. It is saying that on one side there's a character, a string, and other side there's a integer. So it would, if even if the ASCII value of the character is same, it would return false. You first have to convert the integer to a string, and then you have to compare that. So I think C is 99. Am I right? If I convert, you can convert an integer to, no, this would return string as a 99. I think, okay, I have to see how to convert using a function. But yeah, you get the gist. If you are comparing a string to an integer, it would return false.
Okay.
For true, it have you both must be a string, and then it will check that the strings are equal or not. Like in this case, in C, it sees that both are strings, and then it's check, okay, one is hi, other is hello, so it's not equal. Okay, think we can move forward. Okay, strings. You can initialize the string using both single and double quotes. Python does not differentiate between those. And but if you're using single or double quotes, you could only assign a single line statement to any variable. For multiple line, you have to use 3 single quotes or 3 double quotes, as seen in this example. Okay. So whenever you would press enter, it would be like, if I run this code, you could see I have pressed enter after line and single. So it knows that you have to change line after the word line and word single. I have not specifically mentioned here to change the line. It because I have stored it as a multi-line string in the character in the variable, so it knows that you have to change the line after this word. And as Utkarsh told earlier about the escape sequence, I have used this just to be a bit clearer output. But \n is used to change the line whenever type 2.1 equals to int print percentage is returning true y. Type 2.1 would return as float. Wait, let us try that also. You are saying that if I write type 2.1 and here I write int, no, it's returning false only. Check again. Why? What if we don't write \n? It would not print this blank space between these two blocks. If I comment out this line, then this blank line would not be printed. Explain E. E as in this type conversion block or in the conditional operator? Ritik Gupta.
Net ASCII one.
So that whoever asked, she said that if we compared a character with its ASCII value, would it return true? No, it won't return true, as in because the data types are different. See, if I compare C with 99, it wouldn't return. Oh, surprised.
It's true because we have used that explanation. It's not equal to 99.
Utkarsh? Is Utkarsh here?
It's not equal to, so that is
Oh,
why it is
sorry.
returning true.
Right. Ah, I got a bit confused there. So that's what I'm saying. That if you are comparing two different data types, it would return true, even if they represent same value in some form, whether it is ASCII, binary, hexadecimal, anything. There's no. So if you want, you can convert to 99 to ASCII, then compare them, then it would return true. Who was asking? Ritik, uh, you want something like, did I clear it out? Okay. Okay. Uh, does anyone want any like want to ask in Boolean? No. Is ASCII? ASCII is just an standard to exchange information, just for encoding characters. It is used in almost every language. So how do we use them? ASCII is
Hello, sir.
like
Means I want to ask that when we print something, then when we are going to print the value of the variable, then why we write the percentage a but not the a?
percentage a, like, okay, this percent sign
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
asking. Okay, you have, that's the syntax of Python. You have to specify that whatever follows in these parentheses now would be placed in the placeholders that we have specified in the string before.
In an example just before this, we in which the multi-line character we are going to print the multi-line characters.
Okay, here I think here, yes.
That was multi-line string.
Multi-line strings. Okay, I thought where is it? Here. Okay, huh.
Yeah. Here,
Yeah.
here we used the print a in the different line and again used the print for the
Huh.
variable.
Oh,
Can't we use the same method as you have just
you
explained?
can do that. I just did that so that you can see that the
Means both the methods are.
spaces, like the next lines which you have entered in the original string is also maintained after if you have printed. You can do that. Let me show you. You are saying that if I
Yeah.
printed this over here instead of
Yeah,
this,
exactly, sir.
okay, this would also work. There's no issue, but just
Okay,
to like be more clear,
yeah,
I did that.
I got it.
Okay. And
Thank.
okay, remember that Python like differentiate between sentences using indentation. So if I leave this space here, it would result in an error.
Yeah. So you just comment, make it a comment.
Uh, so, move this back. Okay. So okay, I think Boolean. When C is equal high, why does it show up as false? Because C is not equal to high, right? When it is comparing between two strings, it checks each character should be same. While bool 0 is false. Okay. For Boolean conversion, every non-zero integer is considered as true, and only 0 is considered as false. As you can see, true 2 is converted in true and 0 is converted in false. If even if I write any big number here, it would be converted as true. Just only 0 is converted to false. in place of high, in this 99 in E part, I mean, is high. Yeah, I get it. What are you saying? If we do so, see, when you are comparing two strings, it checks that like first character should be same, then second character, then third character. So if I write higher, then it would return false. But we define C above. This C and this C is different. This C is a variable and this C is a string. This is a constant value. Okay.
So if we remove the quotes, that would return true, I think.
That would also, okay, for this conditional, it would
Yeah,
return true, but in that case it's comparing a boolean value with a string, and this is not equal, so it would return true.
yeah, okay, so
Okay, so you can initialize single line statements and multi-line statements in variables for strings. Okay, so when you use the plus operator with any numeric type data like integer or float or complex, it performs mathematical summation. But whenever you are using that with two strings, it performs string concatenation. That is, it just joins the two strings together and makes it a single string. Or like you can see here, when I used x plus y, it joined the two strings and converted into a single string. Uh, for this to work, both of the variables should be string. You cannot concatenate a string with any numeric type in Python. That can work in Java, but okay, no, not to talk about that. Okay, so okay, zero indexing. Any list, any collection in Python starts from like works on zero indexing. That is, everything the first element has the index 0. For example, like this string, the letter B would be given the index 0, then A would be 1, Z is 2, and so on and so forth. Okay, so if you want to, okay, what is the meaning of concatenation? Can we use concatenation printing? Concatenation means joining two things together. In this case, we are joining two strings. And we can use concatenation in the print statement, like print hi plus hello. Hi hello. Okay, we can concatenate in the print statement. Any more doubt in string concatenation? Okay. So okay, so every character, what if we don't want to show what? Okay, this, oh, that's, you can remove the string here in print C, because there is a space after doesn't here. If I remove this space, it would be just like that. I have added a space there. This is the first lecture, yes. Okay, so any collection would start from zero index. Okay, so whenever you have to access any specific character of a string, you could access it using this square bracket notation. For like, if you have to access the second character, second character would have index 1. So S of 1 would result in A. The second character is A. Similarly, if print first character, if I print the first character, that would be index 0, because indexing starts from 0, so it would result in B. In Python you can use negative indices also, but negative indices work like in a different way. -1 corresponds to the last character of the string. Basically you can see it as a cycle. When you are going from B to the exclamation mark, you are going from 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. So if you go in the reverse direction, if you go back and just consider that exclamation mark, consider that the string is again copied back to the original string. So if B is 0, then -1 would be exclamation mark, -2 would be A, -3 would be G, and so on and so forth. So this cycle continues. If okay, that's -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I put -9, it would again print exclamation mark. See, if I do this, it would print exclamation mark, because you can repeat this process again and again and again. It works in both direction. If you exceed like what is this 8, if you print S of 9, it would print B again. 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, S of 8. It would print B again. So you can go on till infinity in each direction. What have you written? Oh, just to explain you that you can count negative indices also. You just have to go in the reverse direction. So if you have to print the last third character, you know that the last character is -1, so last third would be -3, and it prints G in that case. Okay, so see, any doubt in string, like elements or
Excuse me.
string? Yes.
If we remove the space at the end,
In concatenation?
no, in the example we just did. Yeah,
Okay.
in this one. If
There's
we
no
remove,
space here.
okay.
There's just an exclamation mark and the quotes.
Okay.
Any more doubt?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Why do we not have to use %s when we are printing the string in a different line? When we used single quotes A and then in the next line print A in an above example.
Yeah.
This, yeah.
See, here percentage is any percentage, like %s, %d. That's a placeholder that you specified in the string that something would be put here instead of %s, and that something is what you mentioned in the parenthesis next to it. In this example, I'm just printing this string in one line, and then in the next line I'm printing the value of the variable. Whenever you are just printing just printing the variable, you don't need to specify the placeholder, because there's no string before that. Placeholder is just an empty container, sort of, that you have created a container in this string, and you would place this value of the variable in that container later on, when the printing is happening. Is it okay? Hello.
Yeah, I got it.
Any more doubt in indexing or concatenation? Okay, I would consider that as a no. Okay, see, this is something interesting that happens in Python slicing operation. So you can access a single element as shown above. Uh, in Python, also in many other languages like Java or C++, but you can access a substring, like a collection of characters, okay, just by a single statement. So that is considered as a slice. So you take in a section of the string, a slice of that string. So for the syntax for slicing is like this: you mention the variable, and in square brackets you mention the start index, like from where you have to begin the slice. The end index, end index is not inclusive. That is, if you mention let me see, that 0 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so n is what, 0 1 2 3 4 4, sorry, 4. N has index 4. So if you mention end index as 4, it would stop at 3. It just stops at previous index. It is not inclusive in the string which you have sliced out of the original string. And step is the step size. Step size is how long of a step you have to take from the start index to the end index. So for example, start index is 0 and end index is 5, and you have entered the step as 2. So it would take the 0th character, then it would take the second, not exactly second, the character at second index, and then the character at the fourth index. So basically, step is what step size you have to take for between two characters in the string. It would be much more clear with the examples. Let us go there now. Am I going too fast? You can tell me. First, we would need to practice and learn the syntax. Yes. So see, the string is given here. So we mentioned the start index as 3 and end index as 12. So it would begin from the this what the one represents the step size. Here is the string. Okay, here. Whenever you are given the start index and the end index, okay, the like the language knows where you have to start and where you have to end. But yes, our space is given in an index value. Given in an index value. Oh, okay. Spaces are also considered for indexing. So yes, a blank space is also a character. Will it go to 18 or 19? It will go to 18. So I think you all are getting a gist of what the step size is.
I'll be there for you.
Do any of you have any doubt in step size?
Yes, sir. We have doubt in step size.
Okay, so 3 try 3 minus. So when you have given the start index and the end index, it knows where to begin and end from, but which all characters it have to take, that depends on the step size. Basically, what jump it has to take from the previous index to the next index. So if you are going from 0 to 18 with a step size of 3, it would first take 0, then 0 plus 3 like 3, then
Okay.
6, then 9, then 12, and so on and so forth,
Got
till
it.
it reaches a index less than or equal to 19. Even if 19 is not in the slice, it doesn't matter. It will not go beyond 19.
Got it, sir.
Can step size be 0 or negative? It can be negative, but it cannot be 0. Negative step sizes would be there in the next example. So, and you can skip any one of these things, like start index, end index, or step. Okay. In that case, default values are used. For start index, default is don't call sir. So start index, it is 0, like the first character of the string. End index, it is length of the string. So when the length is taken as the end index, it would stop at length minus 1. That is the last character, because indexing is start like the first character is at 0 index. So the last character would be length minus 1, and default step size is 1. So if you do not mention it, like in the third case, I have not mentioned the end index, so it will print the whole string from the third character. Like see, the first 3 characters are missing. Where is it? W, E, and space. Rest all like were on a is printed. And in the example D, I have okay. Okay, if you want this negative indexing, like there is an example for negative index, but if you want it now, let me print this. Okay, I can repeat. Saurav Kumar, what section did you not understand? See, who is it? Pratyush. If you use negative index, then it would work in a similar way, because when like for -2, that is equivalent to in this case, for example, -2 is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so in this case, -2 is like 17 index. So you could replace -2 with 17, and then you can understand what is happening. Like if you, where was I? If you skip like the first index or the step size, then it would use default values, and you can even skip this last colon for the step size. Like in the F example, the initial index is 0 by default, end index is 8, and step size default 1. Steps can be negative. Yes, steps can be negative. Like in this example, like I have used a -1 as a step size, and initial index is -1. So it would start from the last character, and it would go in the opposite direction, that is right to left. So it would start from the last character and go backwards. So it would eventually reverse the string. Let me run this. See, the whole string is reversed now. And in this case, I have used the end index as the negative index. So in initial is by default 0, so it will start from 0 and end continue till -3. So like till t. Um, do anyone have any doubt in slicing? Like this is a little bit important. This comes very handy during loops and other things. Okay, I think all of you understood. Nice, that's nice. Blank start and endpoints means blank. If you leave anything, it would take the default values. For start, it would take 0. For end, it would take the length of s, the total length of the character, or like the string. And for step, it would remain 1. Okay, so the next data type is list. List is basically a collection of data. Basically, you are storing multiple data with a single name. So like in this example, you are storing high, 23 and true, and you can access them using a single name only b. Like these are similar to arrays in other languages, but one distinction is that you can store data of different types also in list. In array, you have to specify which data type, and all of the data should be of that data type. Okay, linked list is a different data structure. In that, you have to mention, you have to put on that. Yeah, in Java, but in linked list, you have to mention the address of the next node. In this, you basically linked list is not a contagious data structure. Okay, I don't want to go there. Like list, sort of. Okay, so so you can create an empty list. So to create a list, you have to use this square bracket notation. A list, a tuple, and a dictionary. All of these things are more or less these collection of data, but the notations are different and some other properties are different also. So for list, you have to use the square bracket notation. Can you repeat the list operation? We have just begin. Relax. So to create a list, you just empty list, just use 2 square brackets, and that's it. You can see the type, it's list. To create a list with some initial data, just add that data in the square brackets separated by commas, and you could also convert a string to a list. Whenever you convert a string to a list, it would uh, like keep the each and every character of the string as a separate element in the list. See, IITK is now stored as then IT, and then K. Like each and every character is stored as a separate element. So you can access the elements of a list in the same way as you access the characters in a string, just by the index of the that element. Or if you want to access high, the index is 1, so L of 1, like in square brackets 1, then it would return the second element. For last element, use -1, and like similar to strings, if you want to access any element, use the index of that element and it will return. So list is like a flexible array. List is almost equal to an array, just a single difference that you could store data of different types. That's all. List is also stored in a contiguous manner, that is each and every data, like memory addresses, are next to each other. Different than a linked list, but okay. Anyone have any doubt in list creation or access of a list element? Are string data types always written in? Yes. For anything to be considered as a string, it has to be written between single or double quotes. One, it's not one. Okay, wait. Let's go. Discuss it. it's actually L. That looks like one. List creation. Okay, so to create a list, like to create an empty list, just write these square brackets next to each other. That's all. And if you want to create a list with some basically, like predefined values that you know the elements firsthand, so you can write that, just mention the elements separated by commas. And if you want to convert a particular data type to like a string to a list, you can use it. This is basically type conversion. I think I will cover that later, but okay. Can we predefine length of a string variable? You want to say anything?
Sir,
It's not sir, but okay.
can we means the string creation in the list creation, you just write hi in the single quotes and 23 without any quote. Can we write it in quotes also?
Yes, if you write it in code, it would be like a
Yeah,
string
now it is a string, then
constant.
here we are not using quotes, but it get printed.
Okay, you are saying that how is it printing the whole string?
Yeah.
Sorry, whole list. See, in Python you can print any data type just by like any variable of any data, just by like mentioning it. Print that variable. If it's a list, it would print the whole list in that same format as you have
Okay.
initialized. If it's a dictionary, like you would get to know what is a dictionary, then it would print the whole dictionary. Another
Can we use another type of brackets? Oh,
no. If you use round brackets like parentheses, then it would not be a list, it would be a tuple. And for curly braces, it would be a set. So that's
specific.
that's what I said, that all the three data types are more or less similar in their notation, but the brackets are
Okay.
different.
I have a doubt. How
Anyone
can
else?
we print a string without printing the quotes? Like the high is printed in the list, then why the square brackets are also printed and the quotes, single quotes?
Because I have printed the list as it is. If I want to print just high, I would write b of 0. Then it would print just high. See, when I wrote it print b, here b is a list, so it printed it as a list variable. When I printed b of 0, b of 0 is a string, so it printed it like a string. And when you're printing a string, the double quotes are not printed. I am from ITK, Sachin Kumar, but okay. Can we use list 52? Yes, we can. We can use any type of string here, but all the elements would be of string type. They will not be of int type. Can we print multiple element of list in one line? Yes, that's what is happening here. When I'm printing B, all the elements of list are printing in a single line. Is there any format specifier for list? No. Uh, According to my knowledge, there is no format specifier for a list. You can check, and if there is, you can tell it on Slack. I will also get to know. Can we store data in list without specifying size? Yes, you can. Lists can be extended or like contracted. Like you can add an element, like when I have created a list like b high 23 true, I can add another element in list. I can remove a particular element from the list. Lists are dynamic in nature, that their size can
And
increase or
if we
decrease.
want to just write high and 23, then how?
and 23 for like you have to print
Yes, yes.
only these two. Okay, so like I showed you slicing in strings, you can use similar slicing in list. So if you want to print just the two elements, I can write 0 to 2, and then it would print high and 23 only. Okay, decimal could make a difference. Any more doubt in list creation?
Can we print high and 23 without those brackets and quotes together?
Then you have to print each of the elements separately. You can use for that. Like if I write for I in this, then it would print. Okay, wait. For that's you can use looping statement, that will be covered next. Like if for I in 0 to 2, and then it would comment this, then it would print high and 23 separately. What is list of options appearing when you type for? Okay, in Colab, you like this. I think maybe you are asking for this list. Colab, you have the option for basically autofill. If you want, like if I write PR, see, when I write PRN, it shows that okay, these are options available. So if I tab, then it would autofill what I want to write, and it also shows a definition that okay, print takes this values, it works like this, whatever. Okay, anything more? No. Okay, we can move on. So you have created a list. Now to access any element, just use that index of the element and it would return the, like for this list, it returns the second element, and -1 is for last. You could use anything else, basically print ls of -12. It would just loop around as I showed above. It would loop around till it reaches -12, and okay. Oh, sorry. That works for strings only. Okay, yeah, I remember. For list, you can go from 0 to the length -1, and similarly -1 to minus length. If you go beyond that, it would return list. What is the meaning of?
So the true used here isn't a keyword or a reserved word.
What?
The true is an element of the
Yes,
list, and
that's
this
the
this is
Boolean value.
shown with a different color, so it's because of it is reserved.
Yes, it's reserved. It's a Boolean value.
Will it be printed when we when we want to print the second element, sorry?
Third. Okay, third, yes. It would be shown. It means show you that ls
Yeah.
-5 will not work. Yes, ls 5 -5 will not work because that's out of bound for the list.
Yeah.
This would result in error. Okay, so you could access, and similar to strings, you can use slices of a list for the start index, end index, step size. So this starts from 0, goes till 2 with a step size of 2. So it would print the 0th element and the second, like the element at the second index. So it would print 5 and true. And let's do that. See, basically A is also a list, but it only consists of these two elements. When you take a slice of a list, the resulting value is also a list, but with the elements that you chose. Similarly, when you, like, I showed you that you can skip this last colon, and in that case the step size is by default 1. So in this case it starts from the like first index, like index element at index 1, and goes on till the end of the list. So it prints high, true, and 56.98. And so, like negative index, can we set length of a string variable? You can set the length of a string variable, but that is when you would get to know about functions and more stuff. Why is 3 in the middle? 3 is the end index. Like I need to go from 0 to 3 minus 1, that is 2. Okay. Any by no, only this one would be discussed today. Then, okay. So if you want to change any element of the list, you could just assign the new value to that index. Or like presently the value at index 2 is true, and if I want to change, like I have done like, let me first do this ls of 2. So it would change the value of true, it would replace actually true with 10. So see, 5 high, 10, and 56.98. You could place any type of data. I can also put any string here if you want. You could modify the elements of a list with this method. And if you want to change a range of elements, so you could use slicing again. You just put the elements that you need in the final list and replace it with that slice of the list. So L of 1 to 3 would consist of the elements at index 1 and 2, and I'm changing that with hello and this another list. You could put a list inside another list, like nested list is allowed. So I have changed the elements at index 1 and index 2 with hello and this list. Anyone has any doubt in this? In slicing, step 0 is possible, right? Length is defined. If length is defined beforehand, by default it takes the step size as 1. Step 0 is not possible because then you would not you would not be able to go from the start index to the end index. If I just, like in this example also, if I have mentioned just the start index and the end index, it would take the step size as 1. And if I change the order, if I go from 3 to 1, it would take as -1. Let me show you. See, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, wait. I have to run this cell again so that original state is restored. See, now the order would be different. Okay. Are you all able to differentiate L and 1? Because, okay, never mind. It's the last step. Yeah. Okay. So, I think you don't have any problem in slicing and accessing. And please explain the second last example. Second last, this one? Below it. Okay, this one. Okay. Let me first show you the normal way. See. Wait. First this, then this. Cool. So originally the list is 5. Okay, wait. Let me add this here only because it's changing hi to hello over there. Wait a minute. So originally the list is 5 high, true, and 56.98. Okay. In the above example, I have shown that you can't change a single element of a list to any other value that you want. In this, I'm showing that you can change a set, basically a slice of list in one go. So in this, I'm taking the elements at index 1 and index 2. So basically these two. Okay, modified. Basically, you want to go from 3 to 1. This. Okay. So basically, what happened here is 3, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 3. Okay, good. So it started from 3 and added this list over there, because basically this whole list is added as a single element here. If I add this step size as -1, then it would change high and true to hello and 2367. See. Okay, I have to go from 3. Oh, sorry. If I have to change high, I have to go from 2. Okay, you get it. It changes 56 and true because it's starting from 3. But please use 2 to 1. Okay. In this case, it will change true and high. Now to finish it and add another 10 size to extend size 2 to 1. Basically, 0, 1, 2. Okay, I have to go to the 0 then. Oh, just 2 to 1. So it's going from 2 and to end. Okay, you cannot use this notation because you are saying that you have to start from 2 and also end on 2. So it would result, though this list would be just a single element because it's starting from 2 and ending on 2 also. But on the right hand side, you can see this is a list of 2 elements. So you cannot assign a single element with 2 elements. The number should be same on both the sides. Basically the length of the list. So if you want to use 2, then you have to remove one element from here. Okay. Okay. Next is unpacking. Unpacking is whenever you are given a list, you could unpack. Basically, you could assign a different variable to each element if you want, just in a single statement. So, like this list ls has 3 elements: 23, true, and hello. And if I want to assign a to 23, b to true, and C to hello, I could write just ABC equals to ls, and this would like correspondingly assign the variables. So if I run this to 23 hello, if the length of the list is more or the variables are less, either case, if the length does not match either case, then it would result in an error. So if I like this would result in an error because two variables are there, but there are three elements in the list. So too many values to unpack, expected to. Okay. I think it's pretty much simple unpacking. Anyone has any doubt in list or string or anything above? Okay, I will take the assessment now. Next, we have tuples. Tuple, tuple. Different people say it differently. So, tuples are more or less similar to list. Just one thing is different for tuples, that you cannot modify it once you have created it. See, in list, I have shown you that if you want, you can change the element. Like in this case, we have changed the third element as hello, but you cannot do that in tuple. You have, once you have created a tuple, it would remain as that only. So you can create a tuple similar to list, but the difference is you have to use round brackets then. Tuples are represented by round brackets. So like when I have created this two high and true, okay, this would result in a tuple, but now I cannot change any value of this. I cannot add, I cannot remove, I cannot modify present element. All these basically are this tuple would behave as a constant from now. Difference between, yes, like the only difference basically is that tuples cannot be modified. List can be modified. List can be expanded. This elements can be removed. Elements can be changed, but you cannot change a tuple. Okay. You could access any element of a tuple in the same way as you done with strings and list with the square bracket notation, like the second element, the second last element, and you could also use slices of a tuple. So one is like from first element to this, I think second, well, no, first, second element to third element, but you cannot modify. If I show you, see, as I've done in list, if I do the same for tuple, that if I want to change the second element at second index 1 to be 5, this would result in an error. Tuple object does not support item assignment, so you cannot change the elements of a tuple. Advantages of tuple over list is tuples are used basically for constants. Whenever you are working with something, some set of conditions that you know won't change, like initial condition that if you're given that the maximum value of thing this could be this and maximum value of particular thing would be this, you can store these all quantities in a tuple and use it whenever you want. You know these cannot be changed, so use that as a basically constant overall. Lists are used for modification, like when you have to work on the data given, you have to modify it, then lists are used. So similar to list, tuples can be unpacked. Basically you can, in any way you can access the element, but you cannot change. So in unpacking also you access the each element in slice, in normal indexing, square bracket notation. So this tuple has 3 elements and each element is now assigned a variable ABC. Any doubts in tuple? How to add and remove elements? you will get to know after you have learned functions, because for that, basically there are two functions to add or remove elements. To add, you can use the append function to add the element at the last, or insert function to insert an element at particular index. And to remove, it's just the remove function. You will get to know these things after functions. You can use slicing things to add elements, right? In tuples or in list? You can add elements in the list using slicing. Yes, you can add. Basically, you can slice of a list is another list, so you can replace it with anything you want. Maybe it's a list, maybe it's like different variables, whatever you want. Any more doubts? Okay. Next is dictionary. Okay. I'm like for list and tuple, you were just basically storing elements. In dictionary, you assign a key value pair. Basically, you store an element, but you also assign a key to that element to access that. Key behaves more or less like an index. Basically, key is sort of custom index. To access Sheldon, I can use the key Big Bang Theory. To access Ross, I can use the key frames. So basically, keys are like indexes which you have defined. Okay, so dictionary is like created using these curly braces. Curly braces with each key value pair separated by. Can I use reverse like to access Ross? Yes, you can access the key of a particular value. Basically, the first element is called a key. The second element is called a value. You can use keys to get a value. You can use value to get a key. Okay. So when creating a dictionary, you have to specify these key value pairs with these curly braces. So curly braces are for dictionary, round braces are for tuples, and square for list. And if I run this cell, you can see this would print dict, that is for dictionary. So can two key be the same? No. Key has to be string. I'm coming for that. Okay. Each and every key should be unique. If it's like if there's repetition, then the key would be overlapped. So for example, if I write another integer key here, like 43, then 23 would be overlapped. See, 23 is overlapped by 43. Can you print any single element? Yes, we can print any single element. Same way, access the single element, and that's here. If you want to print Michael, use its key to print Michael. Value also should be different. No, values can be same, but keys should be different. For example, if I write 23 here also, and I remove this, then it would work as fine. Okay. So to access any value, use its key, and to list all the keys present in the dictionary, use d.keys function. It would give all the keys present. So I think I have not run this cell. Wait. Key should necessary. Yes. That's down there, but okay. Key should be strings always. Value can be anything, any data type, but key should be string. Single quote would work. There's no difference in single quotes or double quote in Python. You could interchange anywhere. But key should be a string. That it should be in single quotes or double quotes, either way. So you can know all the keys present in a dictionary using the d.keys function. Can you take down some intervals and not simultaneously? Okay. Okay. And or to print all the values, you can use the d.values function. See, for basically the dictionary has 3 key value pairs. The keys are Big Bang Theory, Friends, and Office. So d.keys printed the keys and values like correspondingly valued. D.keys return a list. So if I print the type of d.keys, this would result in a list. Okay, like this is a list, but special type of list, dict keys. You can see the square brackets here of the standard list notation. So anything that you have learned in the list is valid here also. And similarly values also. If I print type of d.values, it would result in dict values. That is also a list. And if you want to print all the key value pairs, you could print the dictionary also, or you could print d.items. Like if I print just d, then it would print the dictionary as you have initialized here using these curly braces and colon and comma. But when you use d.items, it stores the key value pairs in a tuple. You can see the round brackets here. So each key value pair is stored in a tuple, and all these tuples are in a list. So these the cascaded data types would be common once you do stuff. Like a list would consist of a tuple, would consist of a dictionary, and so on and so forth. Okay, and dictionary can be modified. So if you want any value to be different, you can just assign a new value to the variable, sorry, to that key. So initially the key for Big Bang Theory was Sheldon, now it's Leonard. And you can add a new key value pair. Just to add, you have to just store the value in that key, even if that key was not present in the dictionary originally. See, like How I Met Your Mother was not present there. So if I do this, a new key value pair is shown. Okay, so I think that's for dictionaries. Anyone has any doubts, you can ask, or I can see the chat. You forgetting a key using a value, use D of Michael. Okay. You can also do this if you like want, because you have the access of the notebook yourself. See, key error Michael, because there is no key as Michael in the dictionary. You can access any element just using their key. If there is no key, it would be similar to when you overflow in a list. Key should necessarily be in double quotes. Can you take? We don't need to initialize key as such. Whenever you want any any new value, then you have to specify the key. Two values are same, then how will access the key? You can access a value from a key, not the other way around. key. Basically, when you are using a list, you can access any element using its index. You cannot get the index from any element. Similarly, in dictionary, you can access any value from a key. Basically, keys are replacing indices. Did I clear it out, Ritik? Where did you learn Python? I don't think it was from Wintergam. Two values are keys and syntax, so we have defined it here using it. We have defined a dictionary here. Difference between tuple and list. Tuples cannot be modified, list can be modified. Okay. Any more doubts in dictionary? Okay. I think dictionary is done. Yes. Next we have type conversion. So you have seen almost all the data types. Almost.
Yeah, I've got one doubt.
Okay.
Just before the dictionary one.
Yes. Where?
Dictionary के थोड़ा ऊपर. Just scroll a little bit up. There's a one thing with you. इसके भी ऊपर. हाँ ये. नहीं. Tuple operations. In tuple operations itself, there is one. U is equals
Okay.
to t. 1 to 3. So in that, while we're printing u, it is giving just high and 23.8, not the third element as well. That is true. Why is it so?
Because whenever you are using slicing, the end index is not inclusive. It always starts from the start index and goes till end index -1. So it starts from 1 and goes to 2.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
If you have to print 3, you have to run until 1 to 4 then. High and true. Okay, what was the 8? What was the tuple? Wait, let me run this again. Okay.
Yeah, now it's fine. Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
Why do we need dictionary when we have list? Okay. So as I said, when you will work more on Python, you would use cascaded data structures. Basically, you would be having a list inside a tuple, inside the dictionary, and so on and so forth. So when you have to store a lot of data about something, which needs to be accessed, like basically, when you are creating consider a catalog. Okay, when you are creating a catalog, okay, so you have to store many different fields for each product, price, okay, and basically manufacturing date and etc. So you would store all of these in a dictionary. So you would have a dictionary which has price and then the value of that thing and then manufacturing date and this. And for all these products, you would have a list of these dictionaries. So for each product, you will have a dictionary, and all these dictionaries would be in a list. Okay. Okay, takeaway. Where can we practice this? Is there some assignment? You can, I think, Shivanshu? Shivam?
Hello. Yeah, like you can use W3 schools that they have some pretty good tutorials and questions. Also, like you can use stuff like HackerRank, and you just can read the documentation. They have examples and stuff for everything.
And I think, like in the later lectures of computer vision and ML, you would be using mostly Python only, so you would get to know everything there. So, okay, almost all the data types are covered, so like we can do type conversion now. You have seen a few of them above when we converted different data type to Boolean or strings to list, so all sort of things. So when you have to convert anything, any data type to a particular data type, for example, when you have to convert anything to int, the syntax is just specify the data type and in parentheses write the variable or the constant, whatever you want. So initially b was a float, but when you convert it into int, it just stores the integer part of the variable. So if you see d, where is d? Okay, b after converting to int is 25 now, and it's of type integer. Similarly, when you convert this integer to a float, so it would basically integer can be written as 5.00000. So it just converts that to a float and prints it up to 6 decimal places. So see this 5.000 and it's of type float. Okay, for converting to string, you can like use str, not complete string, just str and parentheses with the variable. So you won't see any difference in the output, because 225.078 would still be written as that, but it would be of type string. So that's for string. To convert to a list, you have seen above, you can convert a string to a list, then it would store each and every character as a separate element. So this is converted to a list. The syntax is pretty much simple, list with square brackets, oh sorry, parentheses. Similarly for tuple, when you convert a string to a tuple, it stores each character in a different element, but this is a tuple, so you cannot change that now. And for set, we haven't covered set there, but it's similar to list, and basically it's more or less similar to list. The difference is the basically syntax. Syntax is for list this square brackets, for tuple is parentheses, for set there's curly braces. Dictionary also used curly braces, but there you have to put key value pairs, so it differentiated from this set there. In set you could perform some functions like union and intersection, basically what you have learned in maths. You can perform these functions, but that would be after you learn functions. So when you are converting, where is that? Okay, yeah. When you're converting a string to a tuple, or when you're converting a string to a set, see, okay, difference in between a list and a string. Sorry, list and a set. You can see when you converted a string to a list, it just basically stored each and every character in a separate element, but the order remains same. When you convert a string to a set, firstly it removes all repetition. Repeated elements are not allowed in a set, and it also sorts, sort of, can say sort, basically. You would get to know about more about set, because I cannot explain much without telling you more about functions. I think functions would be covered tomorrow, so whoever teaching, poke him to tell more about sets. Okay, let me see the chart again. Are you teaching Python 2 or Python 3? There's not much difference up till now. If you do all this stuff in Python 2, it would work fine. Yeah, so you can use both. Using minor version of Python 3 also. Minor version? Oh, no. Like, can we add remove from tuple? No, we cannot modify tuples. Once you have created, it cannot be changed. You cannot add or remove. Okay, so have you explained sets? No, I haven't explained sets because you haven't learned about functions yet. So, anyone has any doubt up till now? Anywhere sets, sorry, type conversion, and is this it for today? Then just a little bit more conditional and iterative statements, so if, else, and for. Okay, I'm not seeing much. Okay, so all up till now we have seen just assignment statements. Basically, you are creating a variable and storing things in that assign, but you are not performing any logical operation. So for that you need, I think for today, this actually the session is still 9, so and we have some things planned. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, I can take a break if you want, for like 5 minutes, just to absorb. Okay. Okay, so to perform any logical, basically operations, or to have any logic in the code, you need conditional statements, and basically the condition statement used in Python is, so the wait, I need to put the chart away. So, so the conditional statements in Python is if, elif, else, basically if and a condition. So if the given condition is true, then it would perform the block of code with the if block. Else, if the condition is false, it would check else if block. Basically, if this is true, then do this. Else, if this is true, then do this. And the last block is else. That is when nothing is true, then just do this. So when you can see this in the example, a is 2, b is 5, and 2 is greater than 1, so it's printing I'm learning Python. Else, what is going on? If I put 5 here, then it would, wait, oh sorry, 5 is always also greater than 1. Here would be, okay, then the condition is false, -1 is not greater than 1, so it's printing else part. So all the logical operators which we have seen above, greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, equality, not equal to, all of these things would work here fine. You need to take care of the indentation here. If I remove this space, then it would result in an error, because it is expecting an indentation here, but there's no indentation, so there's an error here. Let's fix that. So syntax is pretty much simple. If, then a condition, and colon, to just tell that a block of code would be after this indented. And if more than one conditions are there, you can use the elif block, which is like if a is less than b, which is not the case, then it would check a is greater than b, which is also not the case, which is the case of actually. Then it's printing no. If it is also not that, if I put 23 here, then it would print there because this is equal. So okay, so you have seen these conditions, but if you want to sort of add more than one conditions together, basically you need to develop a more complex logic. Then you can use the logical operators and or not. For and you simply need to write and. That's Python. For other languages you need to use the and symbol. If it's true, will it check for elif? No. Okay. So it would, for and it would check both the conditions are true or not. Basically it's similar to the boolean and gate. When both are true, then it would perform the if block, else it would go to the else block. So in this case 3 is less than 20 and 20 is even, so both conditions are true and it's printing that block. Or is when just one condition or both of those conditions are true, similar to logic boolean or. If so in this case both conditions are true. Sorry. So if both of them are false, then it would go, it means what? Logically it means that b is divisible by a. In this case 24 is not divisible by 13, so this would be false, but a is less than b, so this would be true. So this is or, so it would print this. If I have and here, then it would result, this condition would be false, so it would print else. Or if I had 12 instead of 13, then it would, it's printing one of the conditions are true. Or basically the first block I have changed and to or. And the third logical operator is not. Basically not is used to just flip the boolean answer. That is, if the answer was true, so if you have put not there, it would result in false. So if the condition is true, so not of that condition would be false. So it's simple. So in this case 2 is not greater than equal to b, so this would be false, but not of this would be true, so it's printing a less than b, print like this statement, first statement. That's all for if and elif. And or not are case sensitive. You can try. See, whenever you have any doubt, just type that. They are case sensitive. Whenever you are in doubt, try. If you are still stuck, Google it simply. Stack Overflow, Geeks for Geeks, W3S schools. You would almost everything is present there. If still you are in any problem, contact us. Be active on Slack. So that's for if else if. Yes, also refer documentation. That, that should be the first step actually. You should go for the documentation first. So anyone has any doubt in the conditional statements? All the statements after if else must be indented. Yes. Whatever you want to be present in the if block should be indented. If I want to add another statement, that should also be indented. If it's not indented, it would be considered out of the block. If we don't give appropriate space. Basically, Python uses indentation to separate out blocks. If you have used any other language, you would have seen these type of curly braces blocks to type stuff. But for Python, to separate out blocks, you need to indent them. So whatever is present at the same indentation level is considered at the same level in basically at the same namespace level. You would get to know what namespace are. But basically that is considered a single block. So all these statements which are separated by these two blank spaces are considered to be a single block. Which documentation? Whenever you are stuck, just type in Python documentation. First two links are usually the go-to place. Or you could use this notebook also, or more or less everything is covered. And use only if statement. Yes, you can use only if statement. If I comment out this section, then it will also work. But you cannot use just the else part. Else must always be preceded by an if. What's thorny? I don't know. Shiva, you know what is thorny?
I think it's some kind of ID that is designed for beginners. Like it has
Okay.
steps for like guidance and stuff. I mean, you don't need it. Like,
thank you. If you want, see for Python, I think if you want to try stuff, Python notebooks are the best because you don't have
yes.
to like mess up with the installation and importing, basically installing libraries, and see still where to start for a beginner. ID. See, you can use any ID. That depends on you, like in which you are comfortable. But I think for Python, notebooks are good. And if you want to use an offline notebook, so you can use Jupyter. I think someone mentioned. Sure, you said
Yeah.
that. No?
Yes.
You
I
can
mean,
use
Jupyter and PyCharm are like more than enough. One of these.
And eventually, I think most of you would come to VS Code.
Yeah, if you want to like experiment and stuff, like what is the code block is doing, then just use Jupyter because it like gets you to individual blocks of code. And yes, yeah, you can use anything you want.
Okay, what is ID? This is HP versus code. I have used it. I have used. What would you recommend? What would you recommend? Geeks for Geeks W3S documentation. You can recommend, like you can refer any of these. Like I think documentations are more than enough for just to know the syntax and stuff. And if you have any error, like you have to resolve any error, you can use like refer Stack Overflow in that case. W3 School also has a good tutorial sort of for Python. Okay, yes, the book and Python the hard way. I think we can move on to the next part. So next we have iterative statements. Iterative statements are used for repeating a particular block of code. Like basically when you have to repeat a task for more than once. So in that case, you don't have to write it again. Just put it in a loop block. And for Python, we have two, while and for. Those of you who know other languages, there's no do while in Python. So while So basic syntax for while is we initialize the variable which we will use in the while block, and we check whether the condition is true or not. If it's true, it would perform the set of instructions given in the while block, and after the block is finished, it would come back to this statement and check it again, and this will continue until and unless this condition is false. So in this case, I is 2, it checks 2 is less than 10, it prints 2, it increments value of 2 by 2, that's 4, it goes back, it's check again, that 4 is less than 10, continues, it goes on till 8, after 8 it becomes 10, 10 is it checks again, 10 is not less than 10, so it exits and it prints the next statement just after the while block, which is loop terminated. And there's an else block also for while. Basically, else block is executed whenever the condition turns false. It's executed once only whenever the condition is false. So in this case, it continues till 5. When the value of I is 6, the condition turns false, it goes to else and it prints. If I add anything after that, then this would also be printed. Basically, the control moves on with the rest of the lines that are present after the while else block. So that was while block. There's another type. Basically, while is used when you don't know how many basically iterations, how many times you have to repeat the code. Just you know like till when you have to repeat, but you don't know the exact number. So in that cases, while is good when you know the exact number, or when you know okay, when you know the exact number of times you have to repeat the code, then you could use the for loop in that case. So the for loop in Python iterates over any iterable object, basically any collection. It can iterate over any collection, and we have seen that above, that we have strings, list, tuples, sets, and there's one more range also here. So these all are a collection of data. So for can be used to iterate over these. So whenever, like in this example, we have a string, and when the syntax is for, then the variable which you are using in the for block, that in, and the iterable object. So this means for L, let me change the character. L looks like one. Okay, so for C and S, basically this runs over this string, and for every for every character, this would perform this print command. So firstly, it would print H for the first character, then moves on till the end of the string. Similarly, you could iterate over a list in the same manner. It prints each and every element of the list. Someone asked that if you want to print a specific section of a list in separate lines, then you could loop in that section. Basically, if you want just a slice, then you could iterate on that section only. And okay, another example of a list. For tuple also, you can do the same. You could iterate over tuple. Whenever you are writing this for statement, this second parameter you pass, basically sort of the variable which you use, this would correspond to each and every element. So when you want to print, so basically it starts from 0 and goes to 2. So hello world I. So first I would be equal to hello. Then in the next iteration I would be equal to world. In the next iteration I would be equal to I. So you could change the variable, you can do anything over here. So you could iterate over a tuple, string, list, set, even a dictionary also. The new thing here is range. Basically, range creates a set of numbers. Like range also has the pretty similar syntax as a slice. We have a start index, we have an end index, and we have a step size. So when I write range 162, it would create a set of numbers starting from 1, ending at 5 with a step size of 2. So basically 1, 3, 5. And now when I use it in a for loop, I would be equal to 1, then 3, then 5. Okay. And similar to that slicing, you could leave the step size, then the step size would by default be 1. Range must have the end index. You cannot leave the end index, otherwise it would result in an infinite loop, and it would actually result in a syntax error, but logically you would think that it would result in an infinite loop. So end index should be there. You could leave the step size or you could leave the start index. If you leave the step size, the default step size is 1, or if you leave the start index, default value is 0. It would start from 0 and go till 5. That's all in range. Anyone has any doubt in loop iteration?